Tonight, welcome to Boring History for Sleep, where ancient stories become gentle dreams. You lie back perhaps on a pillow that has survived your day, but your imagination is about to wander far, far away to a world that feels familiar only in bones and echoes. The year is not 2025, not 1025, not even 25 BCE. You are traveling 4.7 million years into the past, when what would become human was still very much a work in progress. Your hands are not yet holding smartphones, your feet are hardened from endless walking, and your belly is rumbling with hunger for roots, seeds, and the occasional lizard unlucky enough to be caught. It is a world without coffee, without Wi-Fi, and honestly, without indoor plumbing. So you probably wouldn't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're listening right now, I'd love to know where are you and what time is it as you drift into this strange ancient savanna with me. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The grass scratches against your ankles as you step forward. The savanna is dry, the air sharp with dust, and the sun hangs heavy like a glowing stone. Each breath feels like swallowing heat. Your family moves with you, small band, big eyes, always watching the horizon. You are not yet human, as textbooks would call it. You are Australopithecus afarensis, or something close, standing upright, but still carrying more ape-like strength than modern gym memberships could dream of. Your shoulders roll forward, your knuckles occasionally brushing the ground when you lose balance. Food is always the problem. Your stomach reminds you that breakfast was just a few bitter tubers dug from cracked soil. They tasted like chewing bark dipped in dust, but you ate anyway. Tonight, you'll need something more. You scan the plain for trees with figs, shrubs with berries, or if luck is with you, a startled hare darting from its hole. Every rustle of grass is a question, predator or prey. Your ears twitch at distant calls. The cry of a crowned crane drifts overhead. Somewhere beyond the trees, baboons bark a reminder that even in the ancient world, neighbors are loud. You don't like baboons. They steal fruit, bare their teeth, and sometimes when you're small, they chase you for sport. Still, you've learned from them too. They know which fruits are edible. You just have to be faster or sneakier. A memory bubbles up yesterday. Your band followed elephants. Giant shadows plodding across the plain, breaking branches as they passed. Where they dig for water, you dig too, scooping at damp sand until mud thickens to drinkable trickle. Historians still argue whether your kind truly learned by watching animals, or whether these skills appeared more instinctively. But you don't have time for scholarly debates. You just know thirsty mouths need water, and elephants are very good guides. Your younger cousin stumbles near your side, clutching a stick like it might ward off danger. The stick is more toy than weapon, but imagination matters. Somewhere in those small hands lies the first hint of tool use, though it will take countless generations before someone sharpens stone into something truly useful. Right now, it's just a branch, just enough to poke the ground or swat flies that refuse to leave. The wind picks up. It carries the smell of something faintly sweet. You know it, the fragrance of marula fruits dropping from a distant grove. Your band perks up. Bellies grumble in chorus. The thought of yellow flesh splitting under teeth makes your mouth water. You walk faster, kicking up powdery dust that sticks to your skin. But nothing is ever easy here. Between you and the marula grove lies open land. Tall grass sways in rhythm, hiding more than it reveals. Lions crouch in such grass, hyenas too. Once your group lost a member here. You don't think about it often, but at night, when the stars fall silent, You remember the sudden scream, the rushing blur, and then silence again. Death in the savannah is quick. Too quick for anyone to argue about fairness. Still, hunger pulls stronger than fear. You lead forward. The grove draws closer. And here the quirky detail of your life emerges. When you reach for fruit, you don't just eat. You smear some of the pulp on your skin. It smells strong, keeps biting insects away for a while. And yes, it might even make you look good. Who knew prehistoric skincare involved mashed marula? You pluck one fruit, then another juice dripping down your chin. Your cousin giggles, tossing the peel like it's a prize. The band eats greedily. For a moment, the struggle fades. Your belly warms, your spirit lifts. But as you climb a low branch for another fruit, your eyes drift beyond the trees. And there, in the shimmering horizon, you see something new. It is not another grove, not another herd. It is something vast, glittering, and strange. A strip of blue stretching wider than your eyes can measure. You don't know it yet, but you are staring at the sea. The ocean whispers from far away, carrying breezes cooler than the hot land you know. And in that moment, curiosity burns brighter than hunger. You chew your fruit slowly, gaze fixed on the horizon. The savannah has given you roots, but your restless eyes already dream of water. Your hand tightens around the branch. You wonder if the sea means more food, or more danger, or something else entirely. For now, you climb down, juice sticky on your lips, dust clinging to your skin, and return to your family. The ocean will wait, but not forever. The grove fades behind you as the ground tilts downward. The air changes too. Less dust, more salt. You don't yet have words for salty breeze, but your tongue curls at the taste when the wind slides past your lips. The grass gives way to thorn scrub, the scrub to dunes, and then suddenly you stand where the land ends. The sea stretches out endless in glittering sunlight, fracturing across its skin. You squint because your eyes aren't built for so much brightness. The roar of waves fills your ears, a sound both soothing and unsettling. Your kind has never truly known such noise. The savannah is loud, yes, but in bursts, lions, roaring insects, buzzing birds, screaming overhead. The sea doesn't stop. It booms and sighs without pause, like a giant breathing under the world. You step closer. The sand is soft, shifting beneath your calloused feet. It clings damp and grainy, a new texture you explore with your toes. Your younger cousin laughs, scooping handfuls and letting it fall in streams. You wonder if sand can be eaten, because everything is a question until you try. Spoiler, don't. The crunch between teeth is unpleasant, and your cousin spits unimpressed. At the water's edge, a wave rushes forward. Slapping against your shins, you leap back startled. The band stirs with nervous chatter. What is this thing, this wet creature that surges and retreats? Is it alive? Is it angry? You test again, letting the foam bubble around your ankles. It tickles. You laugh, then cough at the taste. Too salty. Thirst is not quenched here, only mocked. Still, the coastline offers more than mystery. Shellfish cling to rocks glistening under the tide. You pry one loose cracket awkwardly and slurp the slimy contents. Not delicious, not terrible, just food. Hunger is the ultimate seasoning after all. Soon the band joins in smashing shells, with stones licking fingers, even fighting over the largest ones. And here's your quirky little bonus in seaweed. You don't know it as salad, but your curious hands tug the green strands from tidal pools. Chewy, salty, surprisingly nutritious. Some scholars today even argue that early coastal diets rich in omega-3 fatty acids may have sparked the growth of bigger brains. Historians still debate whether it was fish, shellfish, or good old-fashioned land meat that did the trick. But in this moment, you just know that chewing seaweed feels odd, like eating hair dipped in brine. Above you, seabirds wheel in the air screeching complaints. They want the shellfish too. Their wings flash white, their shadows dart across the sand. You throw a stone. It misses, but the bird squawks and lifts higher, glaring down like an insulted neighbor. Your band claps in amusement. Yes, humor already exists here, though it's mostly slapstick and food fights. The coastline stretches in both directions. You can walk forever and still see water at your side. But it isn't the side that catches your attention. It's the front. Beyond the horizon lies something more. Your eyes narrow, catching faint outlines. Not clouds, not tricks of light, but shapes land across the water. An island, another continent. Whatever it is, it hums with the same pull that the marula grove once did the promise of more. But the sea is not just invitation. It is warning too. On one exploratory walk, you stumble near the river mouth where fresh water collides with the salt. The tide churns strangely there, swirling with hidden teeth. A crocodile lunges jaws, snapping at a fish. You freeze. The beast thrashes, tail-whipping spray before sinking back into shadow. The message is clear. The water has predators, and they are faster than you. The band lingers anyway because survival is also curiosity. You learn tides without naming them, how the water pulls away, leaving pools alive with stranded crabs, and then creeps back to reclaim them. You learn the rhythm, and you time your harvests accordingly. It becomes a new kind of hunting, waiting, watching, scooping quick before the wave swallows your prize. Nights at the shore are different too. The sky is wide here, stars undisturbed by the haze of the inland fires. You lie back on cool sand, listening to waves that never stop. The band huddles close for warmth. Because without trees, there is less shelter, less safety. But you stay because the sea gives food and the sea whispers questions. Somewhere in your chest, a restless tug grows stronger. It isn't enough just to look. You wonder, what if you could follow the water out? What if you could reach that shadowland far away? Could it mean more fruits, more shellfish, more space where lions and hyenas don't roam? You don't know it yet, but you are beginning the long story of migration by sea. A crab scuttles near your foot. You grab it, clumsily yelp when it pinches your finger, then toss it toward your cousin, who squeals and flings it away. Laughter erupts, echoing against the waves. Humor again, even in hunger. But beneath the laughter lies the first whisper of an idea. If crabs can float on waves, maybe you can too. For now you gather shellfish, chew seaweed, and fall asleep to the lullaby of endless water. The savannah still calls behind you, but the coast has cast its spell. Your roots are in the grasslands, but your restless eyes, oh, they are fixed firmly on the horizon. The shoreline is no longer just a curiosity. It is becoming a workshop. You squat near a pile of reeds, stripping them with your teeth, trying to make sense of their bend and strength. Your cousin copies you, mostly chewing without purpose, but every experiment matters. The ocean keeps taunting you with those distant outlines of land. Walking won't take you there. Swimming, forget it. You sink like a rock, and crocodiles are faster. So you stare at the reeds, the driftwood, the vines, and you start imagining what they could become. Your kind is not yet clever with tools, not like later generations who will invent stone blades sharp enough to shave with, though let's be honest, no prehistoric barbershops existed. But curiosity is the start of everything. You lash two bundles together. They wobble, sag, and collapse. The band laughs at your failure. You glare back, half amused, half stubborn. If you can walk upright across the savannah, why not float across water? You try again. Driftwood this time. A log washed ashore, heavy but buoyant. You shove it into the shallows, sit on top, and immediately fall off as it rolls. Salt water up your nose, laughter in your ears. You thrash, sputter, and crawl back to shore, but something in you feels victorious. The log held at least for a breath. That's progress, even if you look ridiculous. Here's the quirky detail you didn't expect. You start watching how dead animals behave in the tide. The body of an antelope dragged downstream floats for days before sinking. It smells terrible, but it proves the idea things can stay up on water. You just need to figure out how to stay up to preferably without smelling like week-old carrion. The band begins to notice your obsession. Some join in collecting reeds, dragging branches, testing balance in tidal pools. Others roll their eyes if early hominins had sarcasm. This is probably where it started. Still, your little experiments turn into group play. Children push each other on floating bark. Adults poke the contraptions, judging stability. You are inventing recreation and engineering at the same time. Historians still argue whether your ancestors truly built rafts this early, or whether that skill came millions of years later. Maybe it's speculation. Maybe you're imagining too much. But look, there's evidence in how your band lingers near the shore. How curiosity drives trial after trial. Necessity might be the mother of invention, but boredom is definitely the cousin who sneaks ideas in too. One day, after endless trial and error, you lash together a bundle that actually holds. Reeds tied with vines flat enough that 2 children climb aboard and stay afloat while the waves lap gently. The adults bark in surprise. The children grin with triumph. You've done it. You've made something that resists sinking, at least for a few heartbeats longer than usual. The band pulls it ashore, examining every knot, every frayed end. Suddenly, you're not just foragers. You're tinkerers with a dream. Of course, the sea is not impressed. A larger wave crashes, snapping the raft like twigs. The children squeal and tumble. The ocean chuckles, tossing the wreckage back at your feet. You groan frustrated. But the lesson is clear: if you want to cross the water, you must learn patience and stronger vines. Lots of stronger vines. Still, the failures don't kill the dream. Each day you add a little more knowledge. Which reeds bend without breaking? Which wood floats better than others? Which vines snap under pressure? You are mapping an engineering manual without a single written word. And at night, when you lie under the stars listening to the waves, your mind drifts not to lions or hyenas, but to the possibility of gliding across that endless silver expanse. Meanwhile, the band benefits from your experiments in unexpected ways. Even a half-broken raft is useful as a platform for fishing. You crouch on it near the shallow, spear in hand. Well, stick in hand, let's not exaggerate. Fish dart past, shiny and fast. You miss most of them, but occasionally you land one flopping wildly silver scales, flashing in the moonlight. Dinner expands beyond tubers and fruit. The sea is becoming a pantry, not just a puzzle, but the dangers remain. Once, while testing a raft, you drift farther than intended. A shadow moves beneath the surface, smooth, fast, deliberate. A shark, though you don't know the word, just the feeling something larger, hungrier, circling below. Panic grips you. You thrash back toward shore, heart-pounding raft spinning apart under your weight. You collapse on the sand, trembling, while the band crowds around wide-eyed. The sea once again has reminded you who's in charge, and yet you still return, because that distant outline across the water won't leave your mind. It taunts you with the idea of more fruit, more fish, more space. Every instinct screams danger, but curiosity insists otherwise. And curiosity always wins in the long run. You fall asleep that night, beside your broken reeds, salt crusting on your skin mind, buzzing with half-formed plans. The ocean sighs in the dark, whispering like a giant lullaby. Your raft may be a joke today, but one day someone like you will push off from this very shore and not come back, at least not to the same side. The sun climbs high again, and the coastline hums with its strange chorus waves that never rest, gulls that shriek like broken whistles, and the occasional roar of something far less friendly. You sit on a half-sunken raft toes, dangling in the foam when you hear it, low splashes, heavy and deliberate. Your neck stiffens. You've heard this sound before. From the mouth of the river, the water bulges. Then it parts with a violent crash. A crocodile, enormous, armored like the earth itself, decided to crawl into the sea. Its jaws snap shut on a fish bigger than your arm. The band shouts and scatters. You scramble backward, dragging the reed raft with you. The crocodile thrashes, tail slicing through water, then vanishes beneath the surface like it was never there. Except it was, and now your skin prickles with the reminder. The sea gives food, yes, but it gives monsters too, and not just in the water. You look up to see vultures circling overhead, their black wings blotting the sun. One dips low, daring before rising again. They're waiting, as they always do. Waiting for one of you to stumble, to fail to become lunch. Even at the edge of the ocean, the sky itself watches hungrily. It's not paranoia if it's true. Predators are everywhere. A jackal prowls the dunes at dusk. A snake coils in the mangroves, its hiss sharp as the tide. And yet, you keep coming back to the shore. Why? Because even though the savannah had lions and hyenas, the sea has something the grasslands never did promise. Danger is familiar. Opportunity is new. Here's the quirky little detail that makes you grin despite the risk you've discovered sunscreen. Not in a bottle, of course, but in mud. Your cousin smears crocodile dung mixed with wet sand across her shoulders, laughing when it cakes into a flaky crust. It stinks, but it shields her from the brutal sun, and the biting flies seem less interested too. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? Yes, it's the prehistoric version of SPF 50. Don't ask me about the skincare aisle, your options are limited. Still, predators make every meal a gamble. You wade into the shallows to grab mussels, glancing constantly over your shoulder. A wave breaks strangely. Was that a fin? A shadow darts fish or shark. Even the harmless movements send your heart racing. Your band adapts by working in pairs. One digs for shellfish, the other watches the surf for signs of teeth. Teamwork not invented by corporate retreats, but by terrified proto-humans who really didn't want to be dinner. Historians still argue whether your kind had the mental maps to plan such cooperative strategies, or whether it was all instinct and reaction. You don't care. You just know two sets of eyes feel safer than one, and that when the gulls screech, sometimes it means fish leaping. Sometimes it means danger circling. Either way, you're learning to read signs from every creature around you. But predators don't just take, they teach. Watching the crocodile, you notice how long it waits, patient, almost motionless, until prey wanders too close. You try to mimic that patience when you fish with sharpened sticks. Sit still. Let the fish forget you're there, then strike. You fail more than you succeed, but each attempt inches closer to survival. The crocodile becomes your unwilling teacher. At night, the predators change. The sea darkens to ink, the waves grow louder, and the stars prick open above. From the dunes, you hear hyenas calling, their laughter scraping against your bones. Your raft experiments wait by the shore, and you know one day you'll push farther out. But tonight, you huddle close to the fire, the smell of smoke curling over salt air. You glance at the horizon. The shapes of distant land still haunt your imagination. Your cousin whispers a nervous joke. What if those shapes aren't land at all? What if they're giant animals sleeping on the water? You chuckle, half amused, half unsettled. Could the horizon itself be alive? The sea has already shown you crocodiles, the size of tree trunks. Why not floating beasts too? The band murmurs unease, blending with curiosity. Even fear becomes a kind of fuel for storytelling. As the fire crackles, your gaze lifts once more to the vultures still circling above, patient as time itself. They are reminders that the struggle never ends. The predators above and below do not scare you away. They simply sharpen your determination. If you can learn to avoid teeth in grass and fins in water, perhaps you can learn to master the in-between, the raft that floats you, where no predator follows. The next morning, with the sun rising orange over the horizon, you drag your half-built reed bundles back into the water. The crocodiles may wait, the vultures may circle, but you no longer stand only on land. You're beginning to believe you can claim a place here where danger thrashes beneath and screeches above, but possibility floats between. The shoreline feels different at night. By day, the sea is a blinding mirror tossing light into your eyes until you squint. But when the sun sinks, the water transforms into a vast sheet of black glass. Waves crash more quietly in the cool dark, though never completely silent. They are steady like the heartbeat of some enormous sleeping creature. You crouch near the foam sand, cold beneath your toes, and lift your gaze upward. The stars are sharper here than inland. So many so close, it feels like you could reach up and pluck one down if your arms were just a little longer. They stretch in rivers across the sky, spilling light over the water. You don't have names for them, no constellations etched into stories yet. But you notice patterns, the same clusters rising in the same place each night, the same star that always leads you east before dawn. Without meaning to, you are becoming a navigator. The band gathers, huddled for warmth. Fire sputters in a shallow pit of driftwood and brush. Its glow barely touches the surf, but it makes everyone feel braver. You chew on roasted shellfish, salty and smoky, while your cousin hums a tuneless rhythm. The children poke embers with sticks, laughing softly as sparks jump. And above it all, the stars wait. A question gnaws at you: could those stars be guides? When you stare at the distant outline of land across the water, the horizon disappears after sunset. Nothing but blackness remains. But the stars, they don't vanish. They remain steady, even as the waves shift and foam hisses. You begin to wonder, if you step onto a raft at night, could the stars point the way? It's a risky thought. Darkness hides more than it reveals. A crocodile could drift closer unseen. A shark's fin would vanish in the shadows. Even the waves themselves might betray you, tossing your fragile raft into pieces. But risk feels different when balanced against the promise of more. Hunger makes courage stronger, and curiosity sharpens it. Here's the quirky detail you notice: glowing flecks in the water itself. Tiny lights sparking where waves crash, or your hand swirls the surface. You don't understand it, but it fascinates you. Bioluminescence, modern science would call it. To you, it is simply proof that the ocean carries stars of its own. The sky above and the water below mirror each other. You laugh quietly, twinkling above, twinkling below, like the world has too many stars to fit in just one place. Historians still argue whether early humans truly navigated by the stars this far back, or if those skills developed much later. Maybe you aren't consciously navigating at all, just staring in awe. But awe is enough. Awe plants seeds, and seeds sprout into knowledge. One day the constellations will carry your descendants across entire oceans. Tonight, they carry your imagination. You drag a bundle of reeds into the water vines creaking where they hold it together. The others watch nervously. The tide is high, the moon lifting pale silver light over the waves. You push the raft forward, step onto it, and wobble as the sea grips you. It sways, rocks threatens to spill you, but it floats. And for the first time, you are not standing on land. The stars overhead glimmer as if nodding approval. You clutch a stick for balance, using it like a paddle. The raft groans, leaks, but holds. You drift just a little way, no farther than the children can run to meet you when you return. But those few breaths of distance feel like an eternity of change. You are no longer tied only to the savannah. You are on the threshold of something larger. The band cheers softly, though it's half cheer, half nervous relief. They've seen too many dangers to trust the sea. Yet they can't ignore what you've done either. Even your grandmother, gray-haired and stooped, claps her hands once before huddling back into her cloak of woven grasses. Her eyes sparkle with pride and fear together. You return to shore salt dripping down your arms, heart hammering from excitement more than effort. You collapse onto the sand, laughing in disbelief. The stars above remain fixed, like witnesses to your foolish courage. You have crossed only a few meters tonight, but inside you something vast has shifted. As the band settles back around the fire, the stars remain your companions. You stare at them until your eyes blur, tracing imaginary paths from one to the other. You don't know the word constellation, but you sense meaning in their arrangement. A map not carved in stone but painted across the heavens. When sleep finally comes, you dream of drifting farther, guided not by the horizon or the shore, but by those glittering points overhead. You dream of islands rising like teeth from the ocean of fruit trees, heavy with sweetness of new spaces, where no predators wait in the grass. The stars whisper promises, and you listen. Tomorrow you will build another raft. Stronger vines, tighter knots, maybe logs mixed with reeds. The sea is no longer just danger. It is a road, and the stars are the lanterns that light it. The first drop taps your cheek like a timid messenger. Then another. Then the sky shreds open. Rain needles your skin and hisses on the sand. The tidy little pits you scratched for the fire fill with black water in a breath. The sea heaves as if it has decided to stand up and stretch. Your raft, the proud, squeaky bundle of reeds and driftwood, suddenly seems like a grass mat laid on the back of a waking animal. You glance at your cousin. She is already smearing on a brave face the way she used to smear crocodile dung sunscreen. Nice idea, wrong product line. Wind unspools across the shore, lifting sand into your eyes and thoughts into doubts. By day the water glittered and pretended to be friendly. Under storm clouds, it admits the truth: it is huge, moody, and has zero customer support. Waves slap the beach with wet applause, and each smack feels like a critique of your knots. You tug the vines tighter anyway, fingers slick. The raft creaks. You whisper to it, like to a skittish animal promising calm that you cannot deliver. The band crouches in a low cluster behind a dune. You look up, judging the shape of the storm. Dark bellies of cloud racing the horizon, erased. Lightning stitches a bright scar in the sky, and thunder punches your ribs. Embers in the driftwood pit sputter, but somehow a faint glow clings under a shell of damp ash. You cup it with your hands, remembering the trick from the inland fires. Cradle breathe feed only a little, and keep the ember traveling. Historians still argue whether your kind at this time could truly control fire or merely caught it from lightning and carried the coals. You can't name a control experiment. You can only protect this stubborn bead of heat like it is the last friendly thing left in the world. You brace the raft with a branch and push edging it toward the lee of some rocks where the water breaks with less fury. The children scuttle after you with armfuls of reeds, laughing and shrieking joy tangled with terror, the same laughing shriek they used when you first rolled off a log and inhaled half the shoreline. A gull skates sideways on the wind and screams as if offended that the weather is interfering with its schedule. You shout back because sarcasm evolves early when the sky won't listen. The rain does not stop. It drills into the sea, turns the surface to pockmarks, then to moving glass. For a long stretch, you simply kneel and hold the raft in place, your back a taut bowstring. The tide surges high around your calves and drops, surges and drops a rhythm you used to love and now distrust. You think of the stars, steady, precise, patient, and how you leaned on them last night. Tonight, they are gone behind a quilt of cloud. The bioluminescent sparks that once made you giggle flash pale and frantic in the breaking foam, as if the ocean is shaking glitter out of its hair while shouting at you to go home. A gust rips across the beach and flips a reed mat like a leaf. Your grandmother clamps a hand to her hair and barks a wordless order that means shelter now, and your band squeezes tighter into the dune shadow. You haul the raft higher, every muscle yelping, and jam its nose under a ridge of wet sand. It still wriggles with the pull of the water, eager to return to its loud parent. You lie on it, face to the rain, and feel ridiculous and determined at the same time. Third joke of the night: if the sky had a return policy, you'd like to exchange this storm for a light drizzle with optional rainbow. The wind carries smells, salt, harsh, and metallic, the sweet rot of seaweed fish oil, wet earth from upriver. Mixed in there faint but real is marula bruised somewhere inland by the gale and breathing out its sugary sigh. Memory tugs you backward to the grove and the first glimpse of blue water while your mouth was sticky with fruit. That sweetness steadies you now, like a reminder from a kinder afternoon that you are not just prey. You are a creature that remembers. A log slams the reef with a hollow boom, and another lightning seam jaggeds the sky. You flinch, blink, then notice a little miracle tumbling in the surge, a pale oblong thing bobbing like a trapped moon. You grab it at the next wash and discover a dried gourd light as a shell and stubbornly buoyant. You shake it. It sloshes the seeds rattling inside. A quirky treasure, you lash it to the raft's side and watch the bundle ride a hair higher. You try another and another, raiding a pile of storm-flung debris. Modern stories will eventually say, bottle gourds can cross oceans on their own. Tonight, one crosses 5 arm lengths to meet your hands and teach you a small trick. You shove the raft again, angling it so the waves hit obliquely rather than face on. The difference is immediate: less slam, more lift. You store the sensation in your body, the way your knees adjust, the way your shoulders lower. The raft talks to you in creaks and subtle shifts, and you begin to understand. Out there, on a night you have not yet dared to try, you will need to read these tiny messages to live. A lull arrives, a false one probably, when the rain slackens to a heavy mist and the wind dips. The surf still hammers, but the beach stops trying to leave the planet. You use the pause the way crocodiles use stillness to plan the next strike. You split the team. 2 of you reinforce vines, 2 check the shore for more gourds and knotty driftwood. 1, your sharp-eyed watcher, stands knee-deep and stares out to where the river mouth becomes a throat. The rule from the shallows still holds: one digs, one watches. Teamwork didn't get invented by HR. It got invented by not wanting to be a crocodile snack. A mainstream fact: the storm cannot erase rumbles through your head like distant thunder in the long age you inhabit. The warm Pliocene seas stand higher, and coastlines breathe in and out with climate more than in your descendants' time. Shore here today, gone next season. The storm is just a sharp note in a song that has been swelling for ages. You don't know Pliocene as a term, but you know that water redraws the world, and that staying put is another kind of risk. Doubts creep in anyway, wearing familiar voices. What if the shadow you chase across the horizon is farther than anything a bundle of reeds can promise? What if your star paths were dreams, not maps? What if last night's courage was just a moonlit mistake? The raft does not answer. It only floats insultingly literal. You sit on the wet sand and let the rain wash your face until the doubts drain too. You remember the first log that bucked you off the first shell, split by a clumsy stone the first time you noticed the tiny stars in the wave foam. Every first felt foolish, and every first made a next thing possible. Thunder rolls away lazy and slower. The clouds fray at the edges. A smear of pale light lifts from the east, no stars yet, but a hint that they still exist behind the damp curtain. Your cousin snorts a laugh and points at your mudslick hair. You look like a seal who lost an argument with a bush. You grin back because humor is a life jacket you don't have to lash on. You check the ember again. Miraculously, it survived huddled in its ash cave, a stubborn eye of red. You breathe on it, feed it with dry grass rescued from inside a hollow log, and shivering. Watch it blossom into a modest tongue of flame. You hold your hands over it and feel more than heat. You feel continuity lightning to ember to fire to story. The debate over when fades inside the relief of now. Wind has shifted, and with it, the sea's face. The big combers ease into long-shouldered swells. You and two others ease the raft back to the lip of the water for a test. Knees bent, hips loose, you hop aboard. The gourds make it comically bouncy, like riding a stubborn animal that can't decide whether to buck or nap. But the bow rises over the swell and drops without burying itself. You grin, teeth bright in the storm's dim. A wave slaps your shin, salty high five. Okay, ocean, round one to you. Round two is in progress. You do not push out far, not tonight. The lesson is balance, not bravery for its own applause. You trace a crescent in the safer shallows, practice the angle that makes the raft sing rather than groan, and then you slide back onto wet sand. The band claps softly, a small sound in the wide hush after rain. You bow overly dramatic yes, because if you can't perform for your 5-person audience now, how will your descendants ever perform for millions with glowing screens? You gaze along the beach where the storm has left gifts. Shells, knots of driftwood, and another pale gourd rocking in a puddle patient as a teacher waiting for a slow student. You chuckle and fetch it. The raft will wear it like a charm. And when night truly clears, you will look up for that unbeaten path of light and whisper to the sky what you whispered to the waves: I'm coming. Slowly, carefully, stubbornly, but I'm coming. The storm has emptied itself and shuffled away, leaving the coast washed clean. The air tastes new, sharp with salt, sweet with damp earth. You squint against the dawnlight eyelids, heavy from a night of wrestling reeds vines and doubt. But the horizon gleams brighter than before, and your chest hums with something like victory. You and the band drag the raft heavier now with gourds lashed along its sides back into the shallows. It wobbles less, rides higher, almost smug. The children climb on and slap its surface, chanting nonsense that sounds like celebration. Even your grandmother steps closer, her hands rough from digging roots, her eyes glinting with pride. When you push away from the beach, you don't go far. Just beyond the breakers where the swell rolls but does not smash. The sea is calmer now, forgiving after last night's tantrum. You plant your stick like a paddle, feel the raft slide. Each push takes you farther until the beach looks smaller. The band shouts from shore, their voices bending in the wind, but you barely hear. All you see is that distant line of land, clearer in the morning sun, close enough to make your heart lurch. Hours pass. The sky burns blue. The water shimmers silver, and your arms ache with the rhythm of paddling. You chew seaweed to keep thirst at bay, gagging but grateful. Once a fish leaps nearby, scales flashing like a thrown knife. You stab with your stickmas and laugh at yourself. Dinner will still be roots and shellfish, but the attempt matters. Every failure sketches the outline of tomorrow's success. Then a change, the waves tilt differently. The current pulls strange. You recognize it before you understand it, the smell of new land. Richer greener threaded with flowers you've never tasted. The raft bumps sand, and you stumble forward into the shallows. Feet sink into soft grains. You've done it. You are standing on a place the band has never touched before. The children leap from the raft, splashing and squealing. Your cousin raises both hands like she has just won the greatest game in history. And perhaps she has. The sea didn't eat you. The raft didn't betray you. You crossed. Exploration begins immediately, because hunger is louder than wonder. You push inland through brush, every step a surprise. Berries hang low, plump and bright. Birds with strange cries dart from branches, their feathers colored like fire. The air hums with insects, thicker and louder than home. You taste a fruit, cautiously sweet, tangy juice running down your chin. Relief floods your body. The land provides. Here's your quirky discovery: giant tortoises lumber through the undergrowth shells, domed like walking boulders. They hiss softly, stretching necks that seem too long for their bodies. You approach one and tap its shell with your stick. It doesn't care. You grin. Meat on legs that move slower than you, practically begging to be caught. Dinner just became more interesting. Still dangers hide too. A rustle in the grass reveals a snake thicker than your arm. It coils, tongue flicking. You retreat quickly, remembering that even paradise bites. Survival here will demand as much caution as the savannah or the sea. Historians still argue whether such island hopping truly happened in your era, or whether it was later humans who braved the waves. But your feet sinking into this foreign sand make the debate feel irrelevant. Whether by accident, storm, or stubborn courage you have arrived. And in your arrival, a truth pulses: humans, or proto-humans, are wanderers. You move, you test, you stretch the borders of what is possible. The band fans out. Some gather fruits. Others chase birds with sticks, their laughter loud. You crouch near the waterline, scooping sand into your palm, letting it trickle. Different from home. Softer. Darker. You wonder if this island will become memory, myth, or mistake. As evening draws near, you climb a low ridge to see farther. From here, the view steals your breath. Behind you, the sea glitters in the dying sun, stretching back to the home shore. Ahead, deeper inland green forest rolls like an unbroken carpet. Smoke from a smoldering lightning strike curls in the distance. A reminder fire is here too, waiting to be claimed. The band settles by a cluster of rocks, building shelter from branches. You roast fruit over the rekindled ember you carried, marveling that it survived sea storm and now new land. Its glow flickers on unfamiliar leaves, unfamiliar smiles. You chew slowly, letting your body believe the journey is real. And when night comes, you step onto the sand again. The stars rise, old friends in a new sky. They look the same yet feel different, as if congratulating you for daring to follow them. The ocean hisses softly behind, no longer a barrier, but a bridge. The new land hums with life, strange and abundant. And in your bones you feel it. You are no longer just a creature of the savannah. You are a traveler. Night folds gently over the new island, and the surf plays its endless music, a chorus you now recognize as both threat and comfort. You sit on a flat rock firelight, flickering against your damp skin, listening to the band's murmurs as they drift into sleep. Bellies fuller than usual thanks to Barry's shellfish and a tortoise too slow to escape. The air feels different here, sweet, floral, heavy with the calls of creatures you've never heard before. You breathe it in, chest loosening, but your mind refuses to rest. It wanders back across the water, retracing every wave, every moment, when the raft tilted too far, every slap of fear in your throat. The journey already feels like a story. You imagine how you'll tell it, the sea that flashed stars in its belly, the storm that tried to swallow you, the gourds that floated like stubborn little moons. You'll exaggerate a little because every storyteller does. The crocodile will grow larger, the lightning louder, the raft braver. Your cousin leans against you half asleep and mutters a string of nonsense syllables. Maybe a dream, maybe the beginning of song. You smile. Words aren't much yet, just scattered calls and sounds. But the rhythm of story is already there, pulsing beneath the surface, like a hidden current. Someday these sounds will sharpen into myths. Tonight, they are whispers of awe. Here's a quirky habit you've picked up without realizing, scratching patterns into the sand. Lines, swirls, circles that fade when the tide creeps in. They mean nothing, but they feel like they should. Maybe they're just boredom scribbles. Maybe they're the faint ancestor of written memory. Historians still argue whether the urge to leave marks, paint, carve, scratch, came from survival needs or just curiosity. But sitting here tracing spirals while the fire crackles, it feels inevitable. If the sea can leave ripples, why shouldn't you? The island hums with discovery. Strange fruit trees with branches that bend low enough to harvest. Birds with cries so sharp they echo long after. Insects that bite with a sting like fire ants, sending you hopping and cursing while the children laugh at your dance. Even danger feels different here, more theatrical, less familiar than lions or hyenas. You sense opportunity in every rustle, even as you stay wary. The band grows bold. Each morning, they explore farther inland, chasing shadows, bringing back armfuls of leaves and roots. Some things are edible, some are bitter enough to spit halfway across the clearing. Your grandmother still insists on being the tester, chewing, slowly spitting, or swallowing with the solemn authority of age. She shrugs at the bitter ones, sighs happily at the sweet. Survival, one taste test at a time. You, though, you keep returning to the beach, sitting on the sand, staring at the raft beached high from the tide. You touch the vines, tighten knots, patch cracks. It is not just transport anymore. It is memory proof that you crossed, proof that you dared. One day it will rot and its pieces will scatter. But its story will outlive the wood. At night, you gather the children and point to the stars. You wave your arms dramatically, inventing connections between dots. One cluster becomes the shape of a giant bird that guided you. Another, a line of ancestors holding hands across the sky. The children gasp, eyes wide, mouths open in delight. The stories root deeper than the facts, and you don't mind. Truth is useful, but myth is powerful. Myth carries across generations like fire in an ember. You wonder if future bands will hear your story and think of it as legend. The first crossing, the night the stars spoke, the raft that carried you like a stubborn animal. Perhaps they will embellish until you are half creature, half hero wrestling storms with bare hands. You smirk at the thought, if only they knew how many times you fell off a log at the beginning. Still, you hope the myths remain. Because myths are glue binding one restless band to the next, reminding them to keep moving, to keep daring. Migration is not just walking, it is remembering. Each step forward echoes the one before. Each horizon crossed whispers to the next, it can be done. The fire dies lower and the night air cools. You stretch on the sand, staring at the same stars that once guided you from the far shore. They shine as if carved into forever steady, unbothered by storms or predators. You close your eyes, hearing the ocean sigh, feeling the earth steady beneath your back. You're not just a forager anymore. You're a traveler, a myth maker, a whisper in the endless chain of migration.